Welcome back to some new r/malicious compliance stories, where people comply to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. I hope you had a great day. Thanks for all the likes and comments on the last video. And now let's start with the first story, shall we? It's called Missing Supplies. I worked for a very large private ambulance provider in the States, whose name is made up of 3 letters. Their usual tactic was to buy up mom-and-pop services and gradually transition the staff into their corporate policies. I started working at one of these recently purchased services, just north of Atlanta, about 25 years ago. This service still operated under their old mom-and-pop race. Washing the truck happened, well, whenever. Grabbing supplies was done by the handful, and they let logistics, usually a retired cousin or grandkid, figure it out later. It was basically a rugby match. If the ref didn't see it, it didn't happen. The first strike against me was that I was hired by the 3-letter people, not the original mom and pop crew. Strike 2 was that I trained out of state. Strike 3 was that I was a janky, and this was still a rural area at the time. On my first day, I was given the classic rookie job of checking off the truck. Conveniently, it was a full check day, a top to bottom inspection. They had no idea what was on their truck, and they knew it. So I checked everything. It was a disaster. While I had everything laid out on the floor, trying to figure out what was in the jump kit, because the crew sure didn't know, we got a call. Before I could tell my partner about the missing supplies, he was already pulling out of the station. I had to run and jump in the truck as he was rolling down the driveway. The call was not just an "ouch, my neck hurts" kind of wreck. A drunk driver in a pickup had T-boned a young girl in a Toyota made out of tissue paper. Goomer, my partner, asked for the ET kit. You know, the same kit that wasn't important enough to bring. To his credit, Goomer kept his mouth shut while hosing out the back of the rig afterward. But he didn't look at me, the lowly janky pneumatic. Within a week, inventory check requirements were updated. The next story is called New Policy Disaster. Any competent accountant has at least a touch of OCD. It's really necessary for them to do their job properly, but some take it to a whole new level. At one time, we had a controller who really put the obsessive in obsessive compulsive. She decided that we were being a little too fast and loose with the company credit card, which, to be fair, we were. So she created a payment request form and wrote a policy to go with it. The form itself was not unreasonable. In fact, we still use it today. But the policy was a different story. According to the policy, the form had to be used for every use of the company credit card. Now, the card was used for everything, because the owner got airline miles from it. With a 6-figure limit, it wasn't uncommon for us to make mid-month payments, just to avoid going over. He earned a ton of miles that way. But now we had to fill out a form for every single transaction, no matter how small. And per the policy, each form required either the owner's signature or 2 higher-ups, one of whom was rarely in the office. I'm the IT guy at a retail store chain. A pretty successful one at that. And IT issues are extremely time sensitive. We are talking cash registers, networks, things that need to run at full speed, 24/7. Sometimes all it takes is a $25 part of the internet to fix a problem. But every time I needed to buy something, I had to get signatures for a $25 part. One of the signatures had to be from someone who wasn't even in the office most days. I realized pretty quickly that the best solution was to get the owner to sign the forms himself. He always understood. Just mention that a cash register was down, and he'd sign off immediately. Working for smart people has its perks. But one day, after bringing him my 3rd form in an hour, because one of the other signers was out of town, he finally said, "I'll look into this," as he signed it. As I walked past the controller's office on my way back to mine, I noticed the owner was already there, having a very polite conversation with her. From that day forward, the executive VP, who had been with the company since the beginning, and was trusted like family, could sign my forms by himself. And as an added bonus, I now have signature authority up to $500 and my very own company credit card. The third story is called Supermarket Compliance. I was at a local supermarket, getting ready for a barbecue with friends. My trolley was full of everything we needed, including booze for the party. The cashier scans all my items and then asks me for ID to confirm the alcohol purchase. No problem. I hand over my driver's license, but then she asks my friend for ID as well. Now, my friend is 30, but he didn't have his ID with him. Apparently, that's not good enough. We had a bit of back and forth, with me pointing out how absurd this was. I even asked if they were ID checking the family at the next till, since they clearly had a child with them. In the end, I was given two choices: buy everything except the booze, or leave. Obviously, they were expecting me to go ahead and buy everything else. The cashier totaled up the bill, but I calmly said, "No, thanks," and walked out, leaving the whole 320-pound shop on the conveyor belt. I did feel a bit sorry for the people behind me. A manager even came over, trying to convince me to take the items. But I told them, if I have to stop somewhere else for half the shop, I may as well give them the whole business. The next story is called Explanations. This happened around 2012, and it's all about my awful internet provider. They were terrible, with days of no internet and 0 warnings. The last straw was 2 weeks with no internet. I called them and they promised to send someone. No one came. I went to their branch office, and finally one of the higher-ups decided to put on his big boy undies and get some work done. As an apology, they told me they'd only charge me for the days I had internet. It still took another 3 days before I was back online. Then the bill came. It was higher than what I should have been paying. I went to the branch office the same day. Before I could even explain my problem, the employee told me I'd have to pay a penalty for being late on the bill. That was it. I lost it. They wouldn't explain anything, so I told them, "I want you gone. I don't want you as my provider anymore." It was 9 AM when I got there, and by 2 PM, after hours of them trying to make me stay, they finally realized I wasn't budging. One of the last things I had to do was call a rep to explain my reasons for cancelling. The phones were by the entrance and waiting area. An assistant was watching me like I'd committed a crime. When someone finally answered, they asked for my list of complaints. I proceeded to go through every single mess up, one by one, and I wasn't quiet about it. This was right in front of waiting customers and people walking in. The assistant looked embarrassed and ready to end me. But it got worse for them, as several customers walked out after hearing me. When I was done, even one of the managers tried to guilt trip me for talking bad about them. I paid the bill and the penalty, but by then they just wanted me out quickly. I got a better provider after that, and I had the last laugh when I roasted them on Facebook, where a lot of people piled on, talking about how awful they were. The last story is called Marketplace Revenge. I was selling a baby gym on Facebook Marketplace, and I made it clear in the photos that some of the accessories and toys were missing. A girl messaged me, haggling for $20 off because of the missing pieces. I compromised, offering $10 off instead. She kept pushing, saying it should be cheaper, but eventually she settled for the $10 discount. She said she'd show up around 11:30, but didn't get there until 1. When she arrived, she was upset about the missing toys. The same missing toys that were clearly shown in the pictures. She paid and left, but immediately gave me a 1-star review for the missing pieces, and then blocked me. So, naturally, I made a fake account, and went to her Facebook Marketplace profile, messaged her about buying one of her succulents. And when I got to the part where I could leave a review, I gave her a 1-star rating and blocked her right back. Thanks for watching the video to the end. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe. And if you have time, watch another one of my videos. Also, if you want to support me further, check out the channel membership or Patreon. And now I hope you have a great day. See you soon. Bye bye.